We're doing it, baby! Guns and Sonic! Let's go! Alright, so you might be wondering why on earth Guns and Sonic are the topic of today's video. Well, for starters, I find it hilarious personally, but it's also a pretty interesting topic in and of itself, ignoring the highly humorous concept. You see, Guns and Sonic go way back, a lot farther than you might imagine. All the way back to the Fleetway comics actually, in the 90s. Multiple Sonic characters, including the Blue Blur himself, had wielded firearms. If you've been a Sonic fan for a while, you've probably seen this panel of Sonic holding a gun saying, "This is it, I'll only get one chance," surprisingly not referring to his ability to use a gun. This page is actually about Sonic shooting a badnik in order to kill it, stopping it from stealing the Master Emerald. Now what I find interesting about this page isn't the fact that Sonic is holding a gun, but rather the gun itself. It is a laser gun, nothing with bullets or anything like that, and I think that's for a reason. You see, Fleetway was actually a British comic producer, and unlike the good old USA, the gun laws over there are practically non-existent, unless it's under very specific circumstances. Not even the police have them on their person unless they're a part of a specific team trained to deal with threats that require guns. Think of it like one step above police and one step below SWAT. They clearly understood the danger that guns present and likely wouldn't want to show Sonic, the hero, shooting a gun with bullets, fictional or not. It's just another cultural change made overseas to fit with the environment there. However, we're not done with this panel just yet. We still do have to talk about the gun itself. While nowadays gun control is a very heated political topic, back in the 90s it wasn't a huge issue that was had. However, the violence back in the States that was still large enough, there were stigmas and restrictions around putting guns in media, especially having someone use guns in media. So, American Sonic, never even thinking of touching a gun, definitely does not surprise me, especially with nowadays his whole, "personally, I would never use one of those" spiel. Sticking with the Fleetway comics, Tails got his own issue dedicated to the attempted assassination of Dr. Robotnik. Easy Shot was the name of the issue, where yes, as you can see, Tails is holding a gun, contemplating shooting Robotnik in the back of the head to obtain that victory royale. He ultimately decides not to do it because killing is wrong, or shooting is wrong. I don't really know what they were trying to go for there. Then the magical unicorn congratulates Tails because it was all a test and he passed. Real interesting conflict, guys. Definitely couldn't have explored that just a bit more. I can't really tell what they were trying to say here. I might just be stupid, that's probably it. But the lesson was learned and the moral was validated, I'm sure. Now, this one is just Knuckles with a gun. I can't actually find any info on this panel. I don't know if my search engine is just destroyed or there actually is no info on it. I'm not sure, but just enjoy Knuckles the Echidna with a Glock. Wait a minute. If he was stuck on Angel Island, how on earth does he know how to use a gun? Moving into the late 90s, early 2000s, Dreamcast era / Adventure era, whatever you want to call it, we got so many banger Sonic games, especially ones with guns in them. Sonic Adventure opens up in Sonic's story with a few police officers shooting Chaos Zero at point blank, which, like, I know this has been said 12 billion times by, like, every Sonic YouTuber, but it bears repeating. Why did they think shooting a liquid was going to work? Like, Let's keep going. And in the very next game, SA2, where we were introduced to the Army with the best and worst name ever, the Guardian Unit of Nations, or Gun.
Seriously? Gun, yeah.
While not technically a firearm themselves, they are seen to use guns throughout their appearances in the game, including on one 12-year-old girl. Yep, that's right, Maria was killed by a gun, held by a gun shoulder, right in the back of the head too. So it's safe to say that Guns or Sonic are going to have a tighter relationship moving into the series' future, right? Well, the answer is yes and no. While Guns and Gun would continue to appear in the franchise moving forward, the character himself hates guns. As he would say in... Oh, Oh, wait a minute. Oh my gosh. That's right. How could I forget to mention the most fun, I mean gun-filled game in the series? The one, the only... Shad Hedgehog's own star game, Shadow the Hedgehog, with dark edgy lines, and dark edgy characters, and dark edgy explosions. There's only one thing that can make Shadow even more edgy. Guns. Yep, Sonic Team thought it would be a great idea, not only to have you take out gun soldiers holding guns in the game, but Shadow himself also wields firearms. He has a pretty wide array, if I do say so myself. Gunplay is actually a pretty huge part of the combat and overall gameplay of Shadow the Hedgehog. You can find guns and pick them up in every level in the game with a very wide variety for variations, but some bosses like the Egg Breaker, using a Badnik's gun is the only way to damage the boss. It's also the only way to defeat it. No homing attacks or chaos spears in sight, just good old guns, baby, let's go! And some of them are pretty goofy looking too. Even the Gatling gun is just so huge compared to Shadow. Like, oh my god, it's so funny when he spin dashes or even just runs. It literally clips through the ground. It's hilarious. I must admit, not all the guns are actual firearms with, like, bullets and, you know, violence. But instead, some of them are rocket launchers or laser guns, which is less cool, I mean, violent, so, yeah. Needless to say, Guns and Sonic are having a pretty stable and healthy relationship. So what's on the horizon for Sonic next? Well, it's something big, something crazy, and something that would change the series as we know it forever! Sonic 06. Skipping every comment I could make about this game that no doubt has already been made before, we're here to do a job. There was a minimal amount of gunplay in this game. Gun themselves were present, helping Shadow bypass specific parts of the map so he could more efficiently go to different levels and get his job done. But guns themselves, I mean, like, I think there are a few vehicles that Shadow uses that have guns attached to them, but, I mean, that just isn't the same. And, as we all know, Sonic 06 bombed financially, so Sonic Team and Sega decided to throw out everything old that would have made that game good, and replace it with everything they could about gameplay, besides the voice actors, even though many of them would leave just a few years later after the second, after Unleashed. So where does this leave Guns and Sonic going into the meta era? Well, I can tell you right now, Guns and Sonic, done. Finished. Finito. Nada. They didn't make any appearance past 2006. Sonic World Adventure, or as Americans and Europeans call it, Sonic Unleashed, nothing. Sonic Colors, I mean the Egg Pawns have them, but that doesn't really count now, does it? Sonic Generations? No! No, no, no! That game was playing it way too safe to include our favorite firearms. However, it is important to note that Gun is in the City Escape stage, so that's some representation, if anything. And Lost World is no better. But Forces? Well, we kinda got a bit of a common ground with the Wispawns in the Avatar stages. They're kinda like Guns, right? I mean, there's a flamethrower, and this one stomps. We see white Wispawns that shoot typical lasers? Yeah, these aren't Guns. Now, this is the part of the video where I say how cool Sonic was back in the good old days, whether that was the 90s or early 2000s, depending on the YouTuber. And it's really sad that I haven't seen a proper return of these things, and here's how I hope Sega will incorporate them into the series moving forward. But honestly, I think a return of Guns would be super funny. Like, I don't even care that much, but if they give Shadow back his Gatling gun, I will be so happy. Well, enough out of me. See y'all next time, and keep up that momentum.